Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am Jennifer Latico, the National Programs Manager here at Actua, and this month is Black History Month, which celebrates and honors the legacy of Black Canadians and their communities. As part of this celebration, Actua just wanted to not only recognize the many contributions and achievements that Black Canadians have made throughout history, but we're really making an effort to highlight some of the Black Canadians that are doing wonderful things right now. And today I have here with me Fikayo Usman. She's an executive director of corporate finance, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about her journey as a CPA accountant. And wait for it, she's also the founder of Fixit Finance, a platform that educates and helps people just learn about financial literacy and investment literacy. So welcome, Fikayo. I'm so excited to have you here today. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Fikayo. I love your smile. How are you
Thank you very
doing?
much. I'm good. I'm good. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. I'm really excited to have you here. So,
Yeah.
one thing that I always find quite fascinating about your STEM journey is that accounting is not necessarily what people always think of when they think of STEM, but it is quite literally math related. It is only math heavy and math literacy is involved. So, can you tell us about that journey as an accountant, the math involved, and how it might be a little different from what people usually consider STEM work?
So like you rightly said, in a lot of circles, I don't necessarily think that business and accounting is considered STEM, but I personally see business and accounting as something that touches on every, type of every facet of life, in my opinion. So I guess my journey, I started out, just going through the ranks from junior accounting level to senior accounting level. So I've been exposed to a lot of businesses, profit, nonprofits, government, non-governmental. And yeah, that's just basically my journey so far, just, learning as I go.
So when you started this journey, did you know you were going to be an accountant? So when you were in school, did you know, okay, I like math, I want to be working in finances, or was this a roundabout thing that you just kind of happened upon?
Um, it's a mix of both. So I've always been surrounded by super high achieving women. I'm very lucky in that regard. For example, my mom, although she passed away quite young, she passed away at 39. She had 3 careers in that time frame, and all surrounding business and finance and just entrepreneurship in general. So I'd always seen like I guess a model with the women in my life about ambitious women trying to take over the world with their talents, so in that regard, that's one of the things that motivated me to get into, I guess, finance and accounting as a field as well. I did a bachelor in business administration. If I'm being honest, that's the program I got into. It wasn't I That's what I wanted, and when I got into it, I was like, okay, let's even see what this business is really about. And it was so nice to get exposed to so many areas of business in general, from marketing to data analytics to, it wasn't quite huge when I started, but at least it was starting to grow as I guess, a type of, career. There was accounting, there was entrepreneurship, there was investments, there was taxes. There's so many areas that business could take you to. And I just really found it very fascinating, and it's that's one of the things that I guess motivated my choice in choosing accounting.
And I like how you said it's fascinating to you, because that's what I find that people who are most successful in their careers, they actually have that deep passion, that deep fascination for what they do. So can you explain, or can you tell us a little bit about what your fascination with accounting has to do? I mean, like from a really philosophical, like back end perspective, like when you look at those numbers, what's happening? Are you like, all right, I'm getting these investments? Or like, what's your fascination when it comes to accounting? Or what would you say, let's say a kid was really good at looking at details or finding, or what would you say you can relate to somebody that's a little younger, that's trying to understand what they like, that is in depth and fascinating and makes it cool to you, that they might not necessarily recognize as accounting?
Okay. If I'm being honest, one of the things that I really like about accounting slash finance is I find that once, whoever controls the money controls a lot of things, just saying. So, it might sound weird, but I think part of because I'm a classic firstborn child, super responsible, super, wants to take care of everybody, mama type situation. So I think one of the things I really like and I really find fascinating about accounting and finance is that if you can understand how the money works in any setting, if you can understand how the money works, even in your personal life, in a marriage, in a business, in an institution, in anything, then it tells you the story. It shows you exactly what's happening, and you can direct a lot of things when have a say in how the money is directed. Just saying. So yeah, there's that. So I would say, I guess if I was talking to somebody younger who was, say, interested in accounting or business or finance and whatnot, like it's such a important aspect of our society. Like as adult, you are an adult, you know what I mean? Trust me, when you don't have money, that's the part of adulting they did not tell us, So, and same thing, it's one of the reasons why I even started Fixit Finance, right? Because, excuse me, when I first got married, my husband and I, like, he would ask me some of these questions, and I just used to be like, "Oh, you didn't know that?" Just because I read a lot of books about money and read a lot of things about personal finance, and I just assumed everybody knew that this is how money works, or this is,
No.
So I was always just like, "Oh, you didn't know that you had to get life insurance at early, so it's not as expensive, or you know what I mean? Just little things like that." So he was like, "You need to start telling people this stuff." So that's one of the reasons why. I guess you didn't really ask me that, but I guess that's what
No, it's
we've
okay.
kind of gotten
It's
into
cool. It's
that.
part of like the fascination, and what makes it cool is because
Yeah.
like we literally like this is what we've decided is how we're gonna barter and like exchange things with each other, and nobody really ever like you don't.
You don't get trained. Yeah.
Until I talked to you and I learned about Fixit Finance and I followed it. Honestly, the idea of budgeting, it just never. I didn't understand the idea.
Right?
I'm like, I have clothes to buy, so I don't understand why I need to decide how much money. But
Exactly.
it's literally if you like keep a certain amount, you can spend what you want. You just need to be specific, right?
Exactly. And you see how, I don't know if you've noticed, but one of the biggest things that I love and I like seeing is when that light bulb comes on in the head of a person or the eyes of a person when you teach them about personal finance, because it's literally like 60 to 80% of your stress goes down when you have your money in order. It's not necessarily about how much you make, it's about how well you manage what you make. You could be making 20 grand a year and you could be making 200 grand a year. If you don't have control over it, it tells in every area of your life. So I think that's one of my biggest fascinations with finance and accounting is just how much it touches everything. Even from a STEM perspective, if I don't care how awesome you are in any form of STEM, if you don't have the finances to back up your ideas, or if you don't spend the money that you do get from whatever, capital fundraising and whatnot you do. Yeah. If you don't manage it properly, you won't be able to get more. It's, it's just little things like that. So I'm really, it gets to see how happy I am. It gets me excited when I think about the fact that, money is just so important, and I know especially, anyways, I won't go into that angle, but like, it's just so important to our society, to families, to individuals. Sometimes when I help students, like I had a conversation 2 days ago with a student who's trying to figure out, she's finally gotten, herself through some of the steps that we teach. And she's just so excited to be able to start saving money, and she's just like, oh my God. And the relief, just being able to have your money in order, the relief that comes from that, or you're talking about a business and the business is worried about how they're going to see the next, couple of months, especially with COVID, like companies who had their money, right? You could tell the difference in how they came out of, pain points like COVID, right? In that, when everything was that deep. Anyways, don't let me go into all that, but yes. So yeah, if you're young and you're out there and you want finance and accounting, like finance and accounting is awesome. Trust me, it touches everything. So don't let anybody talk down to you that, you're in finance and accounting. I have an MBA, I have a CPA. Trust me, it is awesome. It's beautiful.
You're obviously very passionate about this, and it's quite amazing to see. So, because as far as you've gotten, you're pretty high level, and you're very passionate about this, obviously. But you must have faced challenges when you were getting to where you are, especially as a young Black woman in this field. So, can you tell me a little bit about the challenges that you did face and how you were able to overcome them?
The two biggest challenges I faced were actually self-imposed.
Okay.
So, and I'll be honest, right? So one of the first challenges I faced was imposter syndrome. I just felt like, oh, who am I? What do I know? You know what I mean? Because like I said, I assumed everybody knew this. So it's like, okay, if you know everybody knows how to make a cake, if you know how to make a cake,
Yeah,
you're not that
yes, the
special.
curse of knowledge, right? You just assume that everybody
You
knows
just
what you
assume
know.
everybody
Yeah.
knows what you know. You know, sometimes I'm talking to PhDs who don't understand the basics of taxation. I'm like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? So, and I don't say that with any judgment. It's just I guess it was just my little, innocent. I really just thought everybody knew. So
No,
I
and you
just
know what?
never.
I find the higher up you get in education, you get so focused on your specific field, right? You kind of, everything else kind of block. The same way you're all into accounting, you couldn't talk to me about anything but writing books because I don't, my mind doesn't know anything. Even right now, I'm like, I already have a book. Fikayo, don't worry, we're gonna write a book. Oh, we're already working on a book.
We
What am I
already,
saying?
exactly.
Yeah,
We actually have a book that we need to
started
write.
working the Christmas
Yeah.
book. Okay.
Yeah, I also want to write a book. Heck, my husband and I, we want to write a book about like money and marriage and whatnot, just little things like that. Anyways, what was the question? Oh, yeah. The challenges I faced. So I'll talk about the overarching challenges and then, what I did to fix it. Plug Fixit Finance. Okay. So the first challenge was, again, just imposter syndrome, just thinking I didn't know that much. So I just never went for opportunities because I was like, well, there are a whole bunch of people that know, so no problem. And then the other thing that I did from a career perspective was I didn't apply to positions. So I would always limit myself to, maybe I shouldn't go for that level because, but then again, there's so many opportunities.
Sure.
Yeah, you shortchange yourself. I remember when I was working on my resume with a friend of mine, he's really good at resumes, and I was applying for this particular job actually that I'm in right now, and he just sat down and asked me about my experiences, and I just kept putting it out there. But he's like, "You have everything listed in this job." You know what I mean? And then I saw another job in the same place, and that was like almost 3 or 4 steps lower than what I wanted to apply for. And that's the one, if I didn't have like, say, someone like my husband or someone behind me telling me to go for it, I would have gone for like 4 or 5 steps lower.
And that's something that happens to women a lot in general.
It does.
Like
it is.
Jobs,
it
if
is.
they don't have at least like 9 out of 10 of the things that they have, they don't apply. And the moment, it's fascinating how knowledge is really powerful, Fikayo, because I read that in an article, in a research peer-reviewed article. And the moment I read it, I applied for all the jobs. CEO of Microsoft.
Thank you.
Why do you mean I can't be the CEO of all of the Microsoft?
You know what's funny? For my most recent position, I was actually, so one of the people that was called for my reference checks, like actually the 2 of them that were called for my reference checks, they told me, they were like, that they almost think you won't take it, that you're too good for the position. I was like, what? You know what I mean? It's just little things like that. So that's one thing I will put it out there, especially women of color. We have so much experience and we're such go-getters, and we get, we're the ones that if everybody else can't do something, we're the ones who step up and get all that experience. So please, and I've actually been working on it with other women. I've helped at least 5 now that I know just off the top of my head. That's one thing I would definitely say. 2, the 2 things: imposter syndrome, get rid of it, and get rid of it quick. 2, apply for the position. The worst thing they'll do is not call you.
That's the truth.
That's the worst thing.
And honestly, you know what I used to do? I would apply and then just delete it until you forget about it. Oh, yeah. You know what happened one time? I did get called back and I couldn't remember.
Yeah. So
another thing, careful about that.
For some of those higher up positions, it's not necessarily as quick. It takes sometimes 6 months because especially when you start to cut, because now it's more about your people skills than it is about your technical skills, so just little things like that. But and then I guess the example. So what happened was I kind of got derailed a little bit in my career. So at some point, I think we were having a bit of a downturn in Calgary at the time. So I had gotten laid off because everybody was getting laid off, and then I found a different job in like data something. Anyways, I ended up wanting to switch careers. I was like, you know what, maybe accounting is not for me, and blah 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 blah. When you're kind of hurt, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Where you're like, I guess they don't want me.
I guess they don't want me. That is so true.
It's happening to like other people. You're like,
oh my gosh,
I knew it was me.
Oh my goodness. So one of the things I did, and I would tell anybody to do this, I don't care how old you are, how young you are, if you need to go back and start afresh, that's what I did. I went back and I started over. I literally went back to the very beginning and started from like freaking accounts payable, started my CPA over again. And just this time around, I went at it at 1,000%. You know what I mean? I was like, this is the career for me. This is what I want. And I'm so happy I did. So if you have to start over, even if you failed in a field you think is for you, please, by all means, start over and, you'll get through.
Yeah. And I think that's actually, I think, imperative advice, Fikayo, because I know you know me. I was in chemical engineering first,
Yeah,
and then
I
I
remember,
left that,
and
and
then
then
you
I
switched.
started working, and then I switched,
Mhm,
and then there was
mhm,
another switch. And throughout the
mhm.
whole thing, the tendency is just to think to give up, right? Inside,
Yeah.
you're just like,
Oh,
what am
yeah.
I doing, right? Like,
But
I've
did you
done this.
notice? Did you notice that
Go ahead.
no knowledge was lost? Did you notice what you learned? The tiny bit you picked up in chemical engineering helped you in industrial engineering.
Yes, and
No
you never
knowledge is
forget it,
lost.
eh?
Yes, you
Yeah.
never forget it. Even if you fail the course, you learned
Yes.
something. So
Oh, that's really
don't
interesting.
devalue, don't underestimate anything. Even if you failed the course before, if you do it again, or if you like I was going through my notes one time when I was preparing for my CPA exam, like from when I first wanted to take it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm learning the exact same thing now. I know this, So don't underestimate anything you've been through. Every single thing, it adds up, and if you have to start over, like I said, don't say, oh, I'm 39 or oh, I'm 42. And by the time I'm done, I'll be 47. So you're still going to be 47. Anyways,
And
might as well get
you'd have
something.
finished it, right?
Yeah.
And I know for me, like you say, even if you fail a course, I know this is how I always think about it, because side note, I don't mind saying it, I failed Calc 1. And I remember the second time around.
Who didn't
Yeah,
fail
right?
calculus?
The second time around, I'm like, so what you're telling me is I'm going to be an expert at calculus by the end of this. Because
Basically.
I failed it the first time, then I did it. I'll be better at it than the people who did it one time.
Exactly.
And okay, Fikayo, so as you've moved up and as you've gotten to the position you are in, you now have a higher level, just a broad level view of how accounting is and kind of the journey for a young Black woman. So can you give us any advice on some of the barriers that young Black youth might face and what they can do to empower themselves when they kind of face these type of barriers?
So one of the biggest, I think, barriers people face, and I see this. So I have a mentor. That's one thing. I guess we'll get to that part in a bit. But so she's also a director where she's at, and one of the things we've both noticed because we talk is there is, when it comes to recruiting, there's a lot of bias in recruiting right now. So for example, one of the things we've both decided to do, and I learned this from her, is if I'm recruiting for my department now, I head, like 3 departments right now, right? So if I'm recruiting, I actually want to shortlist by myself, right? As opposed to letting somebody else shortlist for me. Because what happens is, especially as a woman of color, there's and again, I'm not accusing anyone in any way, shape, or form. There's just a general bias that comes when it's time to recruit, that, be it your name or, some of the experiences that you didn't exactly articulate properly. So I would say, if you're a woman of color, get very good at resume and get very good at cover letters. Have somebody review it, go through the systems, use whatever you need to use to be able to bypass those barriers in terms of the system that's actually letting people through, So like I had to, for my personal resume, I had to change the wording, let it sound in language that is general language that people genuinely understand.
Yeah, I know
You know what I
exactly
mean?
what you mean.
Like
There's
find the
a way to
language.
technically
There's
write
a way.
resumes.
There is a way. So you need
Yes.
to find whatever that way is for whatever
And
field you're
the
in.
truth is, podcast idea. Truth is, I was in co-op, and this is something I would recommend for anyone that's in university right now. I was in co-op, and in co-op, there's an entire resume taking. There's a resume like course you have to take to learn how to write a resume, and it's so specific. And to be honest, it's so foolproof. To be honest, how you can use that system to write a resume. Yeah, you should totally do it.
Yeah, like seriously, we should do, because one of the things that changed my career trajectory is just, I sat down, like I said, with my friend who's like a guru with resumes, and then by myself, just doing research on Google and finding out what is the language of the kind of positions you want. For example, at the executive level, technical skills, people skills, yes, you need to know how to speak the language of people skills from your resume and your cover letter. You know what I mean? So if you're just starting out in your career, it has to be, to a large extent, technical heavy because, depending on what they're recruiting for. So you need to learn the language of whatever field, whatever division, whatever it is. Sometimes I would see somebody's resume, like some of the people because a lot of people, I noticed ever since I updated my LinkedIn, I find a lot of women of color reaching out to me, just to find advice. And I'm so honored and so grateful. And I always give it to them straight. Like the first night, what's your resume? And a lot of times in the resume, they are underestimating their skills or not speaking the language of what it is they're trying to get. So I would say, the bias is both ways. And on the recruiting side, right? So the actual companies, there's so many things that your resume just won't get through if you don't have the language.
It's a very computerized system. There's almost like an AI that's just looking for certain
and the AI,
phrases.
keep in mind, was not programmed by people of color necessarily.
Right.
So, and again, this is not an accusation in any way, shape, or form. It just is what it is. Even when it's a human being that's doing the, shortlisting, there's also biases there. So you want to make sure that you can.
There's natural biases.
Yeah. Exactly. Natural bias. You know what I mean? For example, you have a name that's not necessarily, for example, a lot of people think my name is Japanese. I don't know why, I'm just saying, like, sometimes there's just, you could face barriers in that regard. I'm not saying change your name. No, what you want to do is make sure everything that's under your name speaks loud. You know what I mean? So just make sure that you're not putting yourself at a disadvantage from a recruiting perspective, and the rest will take care of itself.
Okay, and I know I don't have much more of your time, so I'll ask you one final question. What can be better done from a perspective of as a mentor? What can be better done to empower Black youth in STEM, to get them to stay in the programs and to get them to actually engage? What have you found can really help a mentor to help them stay in the programs?
Well, the first thing, like I said, get a mentor, and again, one of the best advice, I'm so grateful I said this. So when I was looking for a mentor, I was done school, done the MBA, done CPA, and I was like, I need a mentor. Like I need like someone that's like, like your John the Baptist that has gone ahead of you and prepared the way type situation, and I was talking to my doctor at the time, and he said, what one mistake you don't want to do when you're looking for a mentor, if you're an A-list person, don't get a B-list mentor, right? Because they will limit you to their D-listedness. You know what I mean? So one, as a young person, get a mentor, but get a mentor that's at the level, at the life that you think you want. You know what I mean? So for example, I wanted somebody who's making it career-wise, motherhood-wise, spiritual-wise, you know what I mean? Someone that was well-rounded and you know what I mean? So that's what I was looking for. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, as you're choosing a mentor, choose wisely, Right. That's one. Two, I would say, if you find yourself in any STEM course or STEM situation that you're not necessarily liking, but that STEM is for you, pivot, move, try something else. Like you talked about, you started with chemical engineering, and then you ended up at industrial engineering, if I recall correctly, right? Move,
and I did
like
a
change
bunch of
it.
switches in between.
Exactly. Same thing. My brother, for example, started out with, I think, civil engineering. Now he's in data analytics. It's all, you know what I mean? And no knowledge is lost. You take that knowledge with you. I started out with just a business degree. At some point, I thought I wanted to do HR. At some point, I thought I wanted to do information systems. So I just kept reading along the lines of whatever it is I thought I wanted to do at the time. Right. And then now I ended up where I'm at. But the knowledge I gained from all those things is still relevant to where I'm at today. So don't get a mentor and get a good mentor. Two, and of course, a reachable mentor too. Don't gonna say you want, I don't know, Steve Jobs to be your mentor. He's not gonna see you. I mean, but I'm just saying, like, don't, come on, be like, look for someone that's around you, someone that's accessible, keyword accessibility. And of course, that has what you think you want. So find a mentor. Two, pivot. Like if you start out in coding and you hate it, what can you do that's, in that coding, I guess, would be relevant for, you know what I mean? Just don't be afraid to move and change, especially now. Like now, everything's so nimble. You're not stuck. Get unstuck. You know what I mean? If you feel stuck, do something else. Like, anyways, I think I've, flogged that a bit.
No, but it's a good point, because what tends to happen is university is, as it happens, you start to realize And it takes a while to figure it out, what you actually do like, what you don't. Like sometimes you get into a career and you're like, I don't like the general vibe of this.
Change it,
yeah,
you know,
can
and
change.
don't be afraid to change. Like, you know, I started out with, you know, just like regular accounting, and I was like, I cannot do this for the rest of my life. I just can't, because I like, you know, I like the whole joy of just creating, planning, bringing things together that don't necessarily look. I'm very good at finding links, you know what I mean? So you can find a way to merge your creative side with your technical side, you know? So I'd say those three things for sure. Figure out what you like, get a mentor, and don't be afraid to pivot.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, Fikayo, that was so well done.
Thank you
so much for joining us, Fikayo. I think we everyone who listened to this would have learned a lot, not only about how important finances are, but just in general, how to go through a journey that's challenging, and really how to like just keep on going up and keep on applying for
stay
all
optimistic, stay positive. I know that sounds very kumbaya, but seriously,
no, but I mean that's literally no matter what, no matter in our careers, in our professional lives, we still also have to stay positive, right? We have to make, because the challenges always come.
There's always
something. There are always too many emails. You always miss a meeting. Nobody ever knows, right?
Today, let me paint you a picture of how my day is. I started out with meetings at 9. I had one 9 to 10, 10 to 11. 11 to 12 that I had to cut short to make this. This is 12 to 12:30. I have one at 1. That's 1 to 1:30, then 1:30 to 2:30, and then 2:30 to 4. And that's my day.
Why don't they just call professional, like they say careers, they should just say actually meetings. Like there should be a course on just going to meetings. Like
there really
how to deal with it, how much water you need, how much yogurt you need.
You know, one thing that I do though, or that I started doing, is just if you're the type of person that has a lot, just block off a section in your calendar and just put whatever there. You know what I mean? So that way someone can book a meeting in there.
Yes.
Putting it out there, you know, especially for those who try to book meetings with you at lunch.
All right, Fikayo, thank you so much for coming. It was wonderful to talk to you, and I'm sure all our network members and instructors and everyone listening to this will take a wealth of information from it and really appreciate some of the things that you're doing as a Black woman in STEM right now, and literally paving history.
Thank you.
Like, we never know where you're gonna be. So, girl, keep my contact info because I want to be on a private jet.
I'll remember you when I get to the top, you know. But seriously though, if you have people that have questions, especially when it comes to finance and accounting, they should reach out. Fixit Finance. I'm on Instagram. Fikayo at fixitfinance.ca. I really like helping women of color, especially because I've been there. I know the struggle of when you don't feel like you are anything, you know, but then you actually are. Yeah.
All right. You heard it from Fikayo. Reach out at Fixit Finance or at Fikayo at fixitfinance.ca. Awesome. Yes. All right, Fikayo, it was wonderful having you. Have a great day.
Thanks, Jennifer. Bye.
Bye.